Management Research. Hello and welcome to the Management Research podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Eugene Bogodistov. Hello and welcome to the next episode in my mini-series dedicated to organizational well-being or burnout prevention, and the whole mini-series builds around our book with Jürgen Morman that is applying process management tools to prevent burnout. In my recent episodes, we started talking about different tools that can help you understand the early indication of issues, psychological issues in your team. And I don't like to call it early signs of burnout, because if you have signs of burnout, it's already too late, but it can be early signs of emotional or mental exhaustion that you can find out using the tools that we suggest. Some of them in these episodes, these podcast episodes, and some of them you can find in our book. It's of course much richer. I cannot talk about everything we had written in the book. The final episode was dedicated to the root cause analysis that allows you to go behind what happens, behind the issues that you observe, because you need to understand not only the observation but also why it appeared. And the 5 whys tool can help you have a deep understanding of what actually happens within your organization. In this episode, I want to briefly talk about why not applying the existing tools, because we have several questionnaires that can help you understand whether you have burnout or not. And the first of them is Maslach Burnout Inventory, and the second one that we usually apply is the Copenhagen Burnout Inventory by Kristensen and colleagues. We had very pragmatical reasons when we decided to make the first study. We went for the Copenhagen Burnout Inventory because it has been pretested and it has been published, and Kristensen allowed us to translate the questionnaire into Ukrainian and Russian and applied it. The first study that we did was in Ukrainian. We wanted to have it in Ukrainian and Russian. And this was the simple start, but when we elaborated on the questionnaire later, we understood that it was a very good idea, not because of this pragmatic reason. In the event of Maslach Burnout Inventory, you have to pay for the questionnaire, and even the questionnaire that has been published, I think in paper 9082, you are not even allowed to use it without the permission of the author, so you need to pay for it. To the best of my knowledge, maybe I'm understanding it wrong, but I had a contact with Professor Leiter who said that actually you have to pay for usage. There was another reason that we discovered later, because in the next study we already had money. The first study was made more or less for fun, but the second study we had already a project. But we decided not to switch to Maslach Burnout Inventory because the Maslach Burnout Inventory has a kind of bit outdated theory of burnout, and the 3 dimensions that they mentioned, the emotional exhaustion, the cynicism, and the low self-efficacy dimensions, they are a bit outdated. The new vision of burnout is actually that burnout is about the emotional mental exhaustion. And the cynicism is nothing but a coping mechanism, the way how people cope with the emotional labor, for instance. A good way to distance yourself from emotions is to become cynical. In this event, you do not engage in all the emotionally active interactions that drain your energy. So cynicism protects you, kind of. And it is already indication that you have issues with emotional exhaustion. So it means it's more like a consequence of emotional exhaustion happening, the way how you try to reduce the level of emotions that you involve. At the same time, the low self-efficacy is the consequence of burnout, based on the recent theories of burnout by Schaufeli, Demaruti, Baker, and colleagues, all the followers who developed this theory, and also Kristensen and colleagues who just developed a questionnaire based on this newer theory of burnout that I do believe in. There are many approaches. I'm following this approach. I like it. Why not just using this questionnaire to understand how your organization feels? Because we talked about different tools from process management. Why not just applying the questionnaire? If you use the Maslach theory of burnout, you can use their questionnaire. You have to pay for it, but why not? It's important to understand how people feel. If you like the theory by that Copenhagen Burnout Inventory relies on, then why not using the Copenhagen Burnout Inventory? And the reason is kind of simple. First of all, The idea of these tools that we provided is that there is not so much of self-reflection. You observe the behavior of people and you do it with a lot of fun, and you don't ask the questions precisely. If you start asking people about whether they are afraid, they start being afraid. This is one of the things that I learned from my more constructivist colleagues who said that if you ask about emotions, people start experiencing them. Maybe they were not aware. If they were not aware of the exhaustion, emotional exhaustion, maybe they didn't have it. So that's why making some observations, observing what kind of cups people use, coffee cups, how people play a certain game that one of my students suggested, that they have a kind of darts game where with the different colors of darts they indicate how they feel, and so on. Could be a bit different, although also with subjectivity, because if you know that you have to indicate how you feel, then you already have some reflection on it, but it would be different than a questionnaire. Questionnaires are, of course, easier to install, easier to administer, but people are also more overwhelmed by different questionnaires that they receive. I do both. In our organization, we also suggested to run a questionnaire within our department, and our department decided not to do it just because I think they were afraid to find out what they will find out. I don't know why. We have the competence, we have people capable of understanding what burnout is and capable of working with questionnaires, and the fact that we didn't use it showed that we're less evidence-based than we are. So you can apply the questionnaire. The questionnaire can be found in the paper by Kristensen colleagues. I think in 2005 they wrote the paper, and you can find the questionnaire. There are many translations available. You can find our translation in one of the papers that we published in Ukrainian and in Russian. We had it in German translation, is even on ResearchGate. Try it out. This is a kind of more brute way to discover whether people have burnout. Not so creative and not so process management oriented, rather very psychologically oriented, but it is not bad. So if you want to go for this one, you can try it out. I hope it was interesting, hope it was helpful. I wish you all the best, and I'll see you in the next episode. Bye bye.